Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about paying down debt. We're going to be discussing what debt is, the different types of debt, and two methods that you can use to actually pay your debt down. Also going to be discussing my preferred method based on my personal experience with using one of these methods to pay off debt. All I ask in return is if you find any type of value from this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you do enjoy seeing our content and you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can let you know every time we do release new videos on personal finance or the stock market. So other than that, guys, let's get right on into it. So what is debt? Debt's an obligation that requires one party, the debtor, to pay money or other agreed upon value to another party, the creditor. Debt is a deferred payment or series of payments which differentiates it from an immediate purchase. So basically, if you can't afford to pay something outright, you can get a loan from a lender, and for the most part, they'll charge interest to you, and they'll say, hey, you can pay me X amount of dollars per month over a certain period of time, and you'll have some interest tied to the loan. So in the long run, it's going to be a little bit more expensive as opposed to just paying it outright. So if you can, it's always nice to maybe save up for that purchase and then go pay it in cash. But understand that sometimes you can't necessarily do that for certain types of purchases. But you kind of see my personal opinion on debt as you see the boulder running down the, rolling down the hill about to crush this guy. Okay, so that's based on my personal experience. Earlier, right out of college, I was really done with money, which I'll talk about later. And debt can kind of weigh you down, guys. It could also be used as a tool or vehicle to make you money if you do it the right way, such as real estate or businesses and stuff like that. But for the most part, my personal opinion, I prefer to try to pay things outright if possible. Some common reasons people might have debt: mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards, personal loans, business loans, things like that. And here are some different types of debt. So you got secure, unsecured, revolving. So your secure loans or your secure debt is going to require collateral for the debt. So basically, if you're trying to get a loan, and let's say maybe I'm trying to get a house and I have some type of asset that I can put up for collateral, you're basically using that asset to secure the loan, but the lender is requiring me to put up collateral as basically security against a loan. So if if I own maybe like a piece of property or something that's valued at a certain amount, and let's say I go belly up on my payments for the mortgage and I cannot afford to pay the mortgage anymore and I default, then basically they can use that collateral, they can take it from me, and they can sell it to pay down, a part of the money that they loaned to me, kind of pay themselves back. So it's kind of used as security for the lender. You have unsecured debt, which is basically just set solely on a person's credit worthiness, like your credit score and things like that. So student loans is a good example of unsecured debt. And you have revolving debt, refers to money you owe from an account that allows you to borrow against a credit line. So think credit cards on this, or they call like lines of credit. Usually these will have a higher interest rate tied to those. So I'm going to talk about the different type of payment methods. So if you do have debt and you want to pay them down, then you need to kind of develop a plan and kind of think like, what are some ways to pay the debt off as opposed to just, keep paying my minimum payments, forever. There are ways to, speed this process up. So there's something called the debt avalanche, which basically tells you to make minimum payments on all of your notes. And then any type of extra money that you have at the end of the month, you should attack the loan with the highest interest rate. So if you do this, you'll save money in the long run just because you're paying off something with a high interest and you'll pay less interest over time. But this actually also might take you a little bit longer to do it just because, the one with the highest interest rate, who knows, maybe it's also the one with the highest balance. So it can make you, almost kind of, almost not necessarily slow your process down, but in a sense, I guess it could. But just know that you'll save money in the long run over time with this one. And you also have the debt snowball, which if you've watched any of my other financial videos, Dave Ramsey recommends this method in his book, The Total Money Makeover. So if you haven't read that book, it's a great book, link in the description below. This basically tells you to list your debts from least to greatest, regardless of the interest rate, and you're focused on paying the lowest balance off first. Once you pay that balance off, then you're going to take whatever money you were paying towards that one and roll it over to the next lowest balance. And then once you're done with that one, roll it over to the next one. So I'll show you an example of that later in the video, the effects of doing this type of method. So if you are in a tough spot financially right now and you are looking to get out of debt and kind of, free some money up during the month and just kind of live more comfortable, then it's time to get started, guys. It's a new year. Um, you know, Now's the time to kind of put things in action. So very first thing you need to do is make a decision, right? And this can be one of the toughest parts because you've been doing something for so long or you feel like there's no hope. I'm telling you that there is. That's why I'm making this video, because I was in a situation where I was like, man, I'll never get out of this. And I just decided one day, I'm tired of feeling like this. Look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, it's time to change. And it starts with you. You're the only person that can change it, right? So once you make your decision, you got to sit down and make a budget, which if you haven't seen our video on budgeting, I'll link that in the description below as well. But this is where you hold yourself financially accountable. And it's really hard and gut-wrenching if you're not in a good financial space to look at these numbers, because man, it's like, oh, it just hurts. But once you look at it on paper, then you can say, okay, now it's time to go. It's time to, develop more of a plan of action of how I'm going to fix this. Okay. Which brings me to the next thing, is setting goals. Set financial goals for yourself, short term, long term, and stick to those goals and be realistic about those goals. So if you have $100,000 worth of debt, then and you only make like 30,000 a year, you're not going to pay it off in 1 year, Scott, in one calendar year. It's going to take you some time to do it, but just set some realistic goals, even if it means, hey, I might not pay this first balance off this year, but I want to knock off 50% of this balance this first year. Okay. And if you do want to do it faster, then maybe, make a decision of, I'm going to get a second job or a higher paying job to speed the process up, or I'm going to make some changes in my monthly budget to free money up. Be disciplined with your goals here, because once you're on this journey, there's going to be a lot of times where you can put that money elsewhere and do other things. But if you're committed to paying your debt down, you've got to stay really, really very focused on paying that debt down. There was plenty of times I wanted to use that money to do other things, and I was like, nope, can't do it. That money needs to go towards this debt because I committed to paying this off. And then one thing I don't have on here, but is to celebrate and treat yourself whenever you do accomplish one of those goals, because it is a big deal, right? So even if you pay something off for $500, that's a win. So you want to celebrate a win. Okay, guys, so this is my personal experience with debt, and I'm going to tell you I used the debt snowball, and I'm still in the process of using it, but this is where I started several years ago. This was the amount of debt that I had, and when I saw that and put it down on paper, it was really gut-wrenching, but it made me spring to action and make a decision to get started on this process. So basically, if you look up here, I listed all of my balances from least to greatest, and once I paid this debt off here, I took that $65 and I rolled it over to the next debt. Okay, and my payment went from $50 a month to $115 until I paid that balance off. Okay, and once I had that $115 freed up, I went ahead and rolled it over to my $60 a month, and that put me to $175 a month I was paying extra. And then once I had the $175, I rolled that over to the $382 per month. All right, and that put me at paying $557 a month to pay this off. And then once I was done with that, I rolled that over and started knocking out the car. Okay, and let me just give you an example of how cool this is here. So the car was a no interest, a 0% interest. Okay, and I had it over. The loan was for 60 months. So if I kept paying the payments, for 60 months, I think at the time maybe my balance might have been like 17.5 when I started paying it. If I would have kept on with the normal payments, it would have taken me, let's say 51 months to pay my car off. But if I roll that money over and all the money that I freed up from paying my other debts off, I'll roll it into this payment, which equaled out to about $900. I mean, look at that. that cuts it down from 51 months to 19 months. So it can work like wonders if you follow this process. So the things that I did, in order to do this here was I got some little side jobs. I started tutoring. I started doing basketball camps. I started an eBay store making extra money. Any extra money I had, guys, I was throwing towards debt. I started selling things and just going like crazy to try to pay this stuff down. And this balance here is where I started off with. Right now, that's actually not accurate. My balance now is about 17,000. So that is in sight. Okay, so I'm excited to work on hopefully paying this off this year. I'm gonna go crazy and do what I can to get it down and knock it out. But look at where I started here, okay, and look at where I'm at now. This is still a lot of money, but it's a whole lot less than this. Okay, and if you look at the payments, I mean, this is a house note, guys. So that's the thing, is instead of paying other people, why not pay yourself? Put it toward your house, put it in the market if you want to, possibly increase your wealth or some other type of investment. So it's always better to pay yourself first, and and just get, financially independent. So that's kind of my personal preference on this here. Hope this helped. Again, if you haven't read the Total Money Makeover and you are trying to get your finances in order, it's a great book to read, guys. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. So I just wanted to provide some insight on my experience with this particular method. I'll keep you updated on this balance here. Whenever I do get debt free, I'll make a video. And if you, again, found any value in the video, please hit the like button. Other than that, guys, we'll catch you next time.